Hello everyone and welcome back to another video. Now today we'll be reviewing Extra Credits video, and his basic argument is that if you don't have a massive neon sign that says Nazis are bad when you're playing say a game based in World War II, then you're just harming society. We're all just harming society as gamers, and this needs to stop. So let's jump into it, shall we?
There you are, playing the PvP in your World War II shooter, and all of a sudden, you're a Nazi. You didn't ask for this. You didn't choose this. Yet there it is. And it's treated no differently than playing a British soldier.
There you are, playing World War II shooter game, when suddenly you are raped. You didn't ask for this, you didn't choose this, it is just thrust upon you. Jesus Christ. It's a lot of moral grandstanding in this video, which is really very weird, to be honest. As the premise of his argument is that, like I said, because there's not a big, massive neon sign that says Nazis are bad when you're in a World War II shooter and you get put on the Nazi side, then that's apparently very triggering for some people and makes them very upset, which is just fucking retarded, to be honest. As really, I say 99.999% of the world knows that Nazis are bad, but, you know, in a World War II shooter game, you have the Allied forces and you have the Germans. Like, it's really not that hard to understand that this is not normalizing Nazis for the 21st century.
This is bad on so many levels. No one should ever have a random chance of fighting for the Nazis. And we should never express that there's no meaningful difference between Nazis and Allied soldiers, or that they're functionally interchangeable.
Why? You know, Star Wars games where you can play for the Rebel Alliance, you can play for, say, the Empire. Everyone basically knows that the Empire is bad. It's not normalizing anything. What do you mean there should never be a choice where you can randomly be... It's not like you're in, say, a farming simulator and then suddenly there's a random choice of you working for the Nazis. This is a very specific game that are generally set, at least in historical periods, and I think most people really understand what they're getting into when they're playing these type of games.
And before anyone equivocates and says not all German soldiers in World War II were Nazis, if they were wearing the swastika and are functioning as an arm of the Nazi government, then unless the game goes out of its way to tell you specifically that your particular character is not a Nazi, then they're a Nazi.
Yeah, no shit, Sherlock. I don't think anyone's going to start making the argument that in a game based in World War II, the armed forces for the German government, they're not saying, oh, they're not Nazis, what the hell are you talking about? No one's saying this. But yeah, like I said, no shit, Sherlock.
In that multiplayer shooter, when it switched you to the German side, did it go out of its way to tell you that the person you're playing was pressed into service under threat of their life? Yeah, that's a big ol' nope. Oh, and on a similar note, let's please stop forcing people to play as terrorists as well. There you are, playing your modern shooter, and all of a sudden you're a terrorist. You didn't ask for this, you didn't choose this, and yet second verse, same as the first. There it is.
What, are you talking about Counter-Strike? Once again, the people that are buying this game know what they're getting into. There's two sides, the counter-terrorists and the terrorists. It's like, it's a very big part of the game. So no one's forcing these people to buy these games. If it's really, really triggering for them, if playing a terrorist is going to just throw them into fits of tears, then maybe they should just not buy the game and instead say, buy a farming simulator. It's like you're acting like these people have a gun to their head and are being forced to play these games.
I mean, that's literally the name of your side in the game. We can do better than this. Even if you put aside all of the people who have had traumatic experiences with these groups, who have lost loved ones to terrorists, or who have had generations of their families wiped out by Nazis, no one should have to put on the costume of an ideology they find abhorrent without actually opting into it in your game.
They're opting into it by purchasing the game. This is just moral grandstanding. Welcome to the 1980s. We have the far Christian right just saying that everything is basically the devil. That is what you were doing right now. Yeah, like, once again, No one is saying that terrorists are actually good or the Nazis are actually good. These are video games. Holy shit. It's just crazy how much you are acting like the super religious right wingers used to. It's fucking insane. Video games. What, are you going to start wanting to ban video games now? Oh no, your point is that video games, we can just do better. We have to make just a positive impact on society. So let's just, completely remove all fun from video games, basically. If you want to play as a Nazi in a video game, it doesn't actually mean that you support the Nazi ideology. And hey, like I said, if you get so triggered from playing a Nazi, maybe go find another game to play.
And by making people do so, we get them to stop thinking about it, to stop thinking of the meaning behind these things. We normalize them. We make them just window dressing for entertainment. Those uniforms, those symbols, become things that no longer inherently revolt us. They reduce our visceral reaction to seeing the embodiment of these ideologies.
Yeah, I don't really think it does though. I've played as a Nazi in video games before, and that hasn't made me think, the Nazis, they weren't really such bad people after all. Really, the ideology that they spew, it's not that bad. Come on, look, I played a video game. I played as a Nazi. They must all be really good people. This is just ridiculous. This means nothing. That if someone plays as a Nazi, it doesn't make them sympathetic to the Nazis or terrorists.
Now, does this make us totally ignore the history that comes with them? No. But for some people, it moves them from the territory of revolting to just edgy. It makes scrawling a swastika on something change from unthinkable to just dangerous. It means you might not take iron crosses all over a website as a warning sign that you should immediately leave. And if you don't leave, you might start reading and buying into hateful ideas there.
Bullshit. There you go. You were saying that if you play as a Nazi in a video game, you are suddenly gonna go, oh look, there's some white supremacist, website. Oh, well, I played a Nazi in a video game. I'm gonna start reading through this, and oh geez, they've got some fantastic ideas. I might become a white supremacist as well. There's no proof whatsoever that this occurs. And I don't really think anything's unthinkable. Like, yes, I'm not going to go and freaking spray a swastika on a wall. But, yeah, some people just do it to be edgy, as you said. And fuck, you don't have to hang around with people like that. I'm probably not going to really hang around with someone that draws a swastika on a wall, but they're not murdering anyone. You just ignore it, okay? Or you can just paint over the wall. This is fucking ridiculous. Seriously, he actually said that playing as a Nazi in a video game is going to, make people more welcoming to the Nazi ideology. Fucking hell.
It seems like such a small and simple thing, but it's things like this that erode our safeguards against dangers we sacrifice so much to fight. By the time you've played 100 hours of being a Nazi, their voice stabs become memes and in-jokes with your friends. By the 1000th time you've respawned as a terrorist, you're either celebrating them or making fun of them. Neither of which helps the global crisis we have that takes thousands of lives every year.
Yeah, because they're playing a video game. When has playing a video game ever helped the global crisis that we are facing? What? Come on, I honestly think that this, the artwork's really entertaining. It's very funny, but the message of this video is just downright disgusting and abhorrent. As you have no proof that this happens whatsoever, mate. So just calm down. People think that Nazis are bad. Have you seen any World War II movie? Have you seen most World War II video games? And don't act like the Nazi ideology is fantastic or terrorism is just super good.
So what do? That's easy. Don't make them morally equivalent. Don't make there be no in-game moral difference between your Nazis and your allies, between your terrorists and your counter-terrorist squads. Frame PvP as a training exercise, or simply take one of your non-odious sides and recolor them so that it's red versus blue, rather than Axis versus allies.
How about no, because that sounds fucking gay? How about we don't do that? And just because you can either be an ally or, say, a Nazi, is it making them morally equivalent? These World War II games are set in a time where the Allied forces were fighting the Nazis, so you need to have Nazis to fight. I don't want, it just be red versus blue or a training exercise. Once again, that sounds fucking gay. So how about we just don't do that and trust that people aren't so fucking retarded that they're just because they've played as a Nazi in a video game, they're going to start supporting that ideology? Seriously, who honestly thinks that Nazis are good? What? A couple of white supremacists somewhere? It's like fucking no one. And video games did not create them either.
A good example of a game that does this is Rainbow Six Siege. All of your bomb diffusion and hostage rescue multiplayer with no normalizing terrorists. In fact, by having all of the characters as counter-terrorists training for a possible threat, it highlights how real and present of a threat that is. And if you decide that you need to have both sides be playable, don't make them interchangeable. Don't have players randomly spawn in as one or the other.
Yeah, look, you're going to go on to say that, yeah, well, this might affect gameplay and, say, wait times, but that's just something that we're going to have to sacrifice, which is just idiotic. And Rainbow Six Siege, is that a super popular game? I don't really think it's amazingly popular. People can like it, sure, but once again, training exercises sounds fucking gay.
Allow players to choose which side they're on. Now, of course, this has all sorts of in-game problems, such as creating shorter wait times for fascists, but you know what? Those wait times could be artificially extended if it meant players had an active choice in what teams they would represent if you're saying we need people playing Nazis in our games. And if you're going to say, but we need it for historical reasons, then your game better actually be historical. You can't really just hide behind the fact you called your desert map El Alamein and say, but it's historical. If that were the case, you need your PvP to at least represent real historical events and be a realistic take on those battles.
No, you don't. You really actually don't. As it's just, say, a setting. So it's, historically accurate. It's just, set in a historical setting. It's the Allied versus the Nazis. There's still actual gameplay involved. And, this little thing called fun as well. It's more of a backdrop for the game. And, hey, some super historically accurate game could be incredibly fun. But if you want to make a shooter, say, based in World War II, but you want to say, take some sort of creative license to it, that's completely fine as well. Gee, you're acting like literally like the moral police.
Once you make both sides balanced, it's also no longer historical. And you can't really say that you need Nazis anymore for historical accuracy. Oh, and once you let players get cool weapons that weren't actually at that particular battleground, it's also no longer historically accurate. And you can't declare that your game will suffer if you don't put players in the jackboots of the Third Reich. And once your map is something carefully designed to have good gameplay by a team in a room in San Francisco or LA, and it's not a faithful reconstruction of the actual places the historical events occurred in, you can no longer say we need to have players take up arms in service of terror or hate.
Yeah, I've already answered this point. People know what game they are buying when they buy it. They understand that if it's, say, a counter-terrorist versus terrorist style of game, there's going to be terrorists in it. They're making that choice to buy the game. And I'm sorry, but you just being like, well, that's not historically accurate. It's fucking retarded. Like I said, it's a backdrop. There's games where you have, like, samurais versing freaking gladiators and shit like that. That's not historically accurate either. It's called a backdrop for the game mechanics, you could say the storyline, etc., etc. It's called a game. It doesn't have to be literally point by point historically accurate.
And look, we're not saying we can't have games about World War II or about terrorism. We're not even saying we shouldn't make games where you play as a Nazi or a terrorist. But what we are saying is that the fact that you're playing as a Nazi or a terrorist in a game has to mean something. And it can't just be a skin. It can't be something that a game randomly drops you into.
Yes, it can. It absolutely can. And I hope that they make more games just because it's apparently going to trigger you. It absolutely can just be a skin if the game wants to be. If you don't like it, don't play it. But then to say that it's going to somehow make Nazis is just ridiculous. It's just fear-mongering, really.
And really, if we are saying anything in this episode, it's this. Games can do better. And in this particular case, it's not even that hard to do better. And it's no more costly to do better. All it requires is that we in the game industry be cognizant of the world around us and what these symbols we're drawing on mean. That we think as we're building, not just about the game we're working on, but about the world as a whole.
How about no? They're video games. Seriously, just adding all this sort of just, mummy style. Oh, you can't do that, Jimmy. You've got to think about the world around you when you play counter-terrorists versus terrorists. You're having a negative effect on the world. Just fuck off, mate. Seriously. Like I said, it's a real shame. Never seen your channel before. Got 2.1 million subscribers. The artwork, very entertaining. The message in this video, fucking disgusting. How about maybe don't make political videos and just stick to, I guess, what you've been doing before that got you to 2.1 million subscribers? Because there's obviously a lot of work that's gone into this video. But still, you're not the moral police. And games don't need to do better. Basically with a game, I just want it to be fun or not. That's it. Like I said, if I play as a Nazi or if I play as a terrorist, that doesn't mean that I'm going to go like, yeah, terrorism, it's fucking awesome. I'm going to go out and become a terrorist. It's just, literally, can you show a single example of that ever happening?
If we can do that, we can take a big step forward for the industry. We can stop helping to normalize Nazis.
Anyway, that's the video, guys. Let me know what you think in the comment sections down below, as I don't think, Allied forces versus Nazis, if, say, you can switch between them, don't think that's normalizing Nazis. As really, honestly, at this point, everyone knows that Nazis are bad. Come on, ever since I've been bored, been told Nazis are bad, and I can just use my critical thinking skills and be like, they wanted to murder people that were, not white, basically. That's not really a good thing. It's just, fuck. It's literally just like the Christian right, say in the 1980s, 1990s. You're exactly the same. Oh, Harry Potter. It's magic. That's the devil's work. It's fucking ridiculous, mate. And I can see why you've got so many downvotes, because I'm guessing, and like I said, never seen your channel before. I think the artwork's very, very entertaining. But I'm guessing you don't do too many political style videos, so your audience is kind of going, what the fuck is going on? Why is he saying playing a Nazi in a video game is normalizing hate? Like, can you please stop? But anyway, let me know what you think in the comment section down below, like I said, and I'll catch you guys later.